Welcome to Camnet TV, not just another channel. Welcome to the main news with Banda Tandiwe, the headlines. Police squeezed Neves MUMBA for 2 hours over his LUKASHYA rigging claims. 6 people die in MWENSE road accident. LUSAKA couple fined 5,000 each for secretly burying their 1-month-old baby. In international news, Chinese doctors arrive in Zimbabwe. And in our sports news, Zambia under 15 back home. Do join me with the details after this break.
MSika is here. We have you all covered with just 150 kwacha. You can advertise every day from 17 hours to 18 hours. For a 30-second ad, get the benefit of selling your products and services on MSika. For more details, call our marketing department on +260 953 995099 +260 962 444 726 or +260 971 177 467. Email us on info@camnettvafrica.com. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us. We continue with our news stories. Government has received 2,000 metric tons of fertilizer from Norwegian government, and Yara investment aimed at cushioning the burden that small-scale farmers are facing with the advent of COVID-19. Agriculture Minister Michael Katambo says this will help in enhancing government's agenda of alleviating rural poverty through agricultural programs. He says government will ensure that the inputs go to the intended beneficiaries. And Yara Commercial Director Gabriel Pins says the negative effects of COVID-19 are likely to double hunger levels, hence the need for collaborated efforts in making sure that people are food secure. More details in this report.
The COVID-19 pandemic has not spared any sector. Now, with government's decision to ease most sectors, most of the people have pressed the reset button. Zambia being a country with most of its farming population being the small-scale farmers, the effects of COVID-19 are inevitable. In this regard, the Norwegian government has donated 2,000 metric tons of fertilizer to help ease the pressure these farmers may face, especially as the country heads towards the farming season. Agriculture Minister Michael Katambo received this donation as he has pledged to see to it that the inputs are put to good use by the beneficiaries.
I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude towards this timely donation. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the agriculture sector has not been spared by the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, such as restrictions imposed on movements and large gatherings. The restrictions have affected our small-scale farmers in many ways, thereby threatening the food security of most farming households. Farmers are not able to easily take their produce to markets of their choice or purchase inputs from outlets of their preference. Extension service delivery has also proved to be a challenge, as many extension staff cannot meet with the farmers as they used to do before the pandemic. These and many factors are likely to reduce production and productivity of our small-scale farmers, thereby putting their food security in jeopardy. Therefore, this donation we are receiving this morning will go a long way in supplementing government's efforts of enhancing food security and reducing rural poverty through agriculture.
And Yara Commercial Director Gabriel Pins says the negative effects of COVID-19 in the fight against poverty need concerted efforts in order to ensure food security.
Food for more than 1 million people in Southern Africa and Eastern Africa. As a critical part of the food value chain, we have a responsibility to support vulnerable farming communities and help avert a hunger crisis, and to help sustain production and food supply chains and safeguard the people most at risk during this pandemic. As a closing remark, Yara do hope that the initiative can be a catalyst for other private sector players to join in a coordinated effort
The Conservation Farming Unit CFU will train the 20,000 beneficiaries before handing over the inputs.
1,000 beneficiaries have been identified to take them through a training so that they can use these resources in a better and more useful way through climate smart agriculture. Then we are supposed to deliver all the inputs to all the 20,000 farmers and to monitor the impact of the donation at household level and quantify its contribution to the national maize basket. Honourable Minister, we are also pleased to inform you that we are continuing to engage other private sector partners so that this becomes a full package with seed, which we are very sure will also be provided in due course. And would like to assure you that all the inputs will be delivered to the rightful beneficiaries. Thank you very much.
The Norwegian government and Yara targets to help millions of people in 1 year. Sharon Kalimbula, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Government has commended First Quantum Mineral through Trident Foundation for complementing government and promoting community game ranch and Chiefs and Tambos, the area in Winilunga district of Northwestern Province. Chiefs and Traditional Affairs Minister Lawrence Sichalwe was speaking during the opening of Ntambo Community Game Reserve, where 11 out of a total of 100 impalas were handed over to the people of Ntambo community held at Mukambi Wildlife Camp Chulu in Winilunga. And First Quantum Minerals Country Manager General Kingsley Chinkuli has disclosed that the firm has so far invested over $4.5 million United States dollars in conservation activities in and around West Lunga National Park since 2014. Meanwhile, the host of Ntambo of the Lunda speaking people, who spoke through his representative Lawrence Kasili, is happy with the support. Krevat Chituta of NICE now reports.
They have come in numbers to witness the opening of Ntambo Community Game Reserve. 11 out of the total 100 impalas have been released in the community-owned game reserve as its first seed stock. It is the first of its kind to be launched in Chief Ntambo's chiefdom in Mwinilunga district of Northwestern Province. The game reserve is sitting on 1,000 hectares of land within Ntambo chiefdom, connecting Chibwika Ntambo Game Area and West Lunga National Park. Thanks to First Quantum Minerals, FQM, through Karumbira Trident Foundation for the investment. General Kingsley Chinkuli is FQM country manager.
Today, we have reached the end of another walk the talk road, which has seen First Quantum invest over $4.5 million in conservation activities in and around West Lunga since 2014.
Chiefs and Traditional Affairs Minister Lawrence Sichalwe officiated at the event.
To thank you most sincerely for your contribution to wildlife conservation. Let me assure Kalumbila Trident Foundation and all present of the government's commitment to these developmental activities. I have no doubt that these efforts will, in the medium to long term, have a positive impact on the lives of our people, as well as provide valuable policy lessons for the government.
The host chief Ntambo of the Lunda-speaking people, who spoke through his representative, Lawrence Kasidi, is happy with the support.
The Ntambo community is highly indebted to the government of His Excellency, Dr. Edgar Chagalungu, President of the Republic of Zambia, for the support rendered in establishing the Community Game Reserve. We also thank most sincerely First Quantum Minerals through the Trident Foundation and all who provided financial, material, and moral support towards the realization of the project.
Department of National Park and Wildlife represented the Ministry of Tourism and Arts with an assurance to the community.
I would just like to assure the community of Ntambo through His Royal Highness that we shall offer support to this initiative which we have been shown today.
Provincial Administration and Karumbila Trident Foundation also added their voice.
And as Provincial Administration, representing the Honorable Minister and also the Permanent Secretary, we want to encourage all the 33 chiefdoms that we have in Northwestern Province to follow suit. What we have witnessed today here is a clear illustration of the benefits of working together. We know that as a company, we can't do anything without involving stakeholders. Where we sit here, we have key partners like WWF who are providing technical support.
We urge the Intambo Chiefdom, the Intambo community and the Intambo Community Game Reserve Committee to please rise to this challenge, run this like a business, start providing the resources that the people need through legal means.
Senior Chief Sairunga of the Runda-speaking people of Mwinirunga also attended the event. Krivach Tuta, reporting in Mwinirunga District, Northwestern Province.
Movement for Multi-Party Democracy MMD President Nevas MUMBA appeared before police on Monday morning for questioning. Dr. Nevas MUMBA was summoned by police service last week to appear for inquiries. His summoning is based on a statement he recently made, which at a press briefing where he alleged that the Patriotic Front rigged the by-election in LUKASHYA after his party candidate polled less votes than expected. Police Public Relations Officer Esther Katongo says his summon is meant to inquire from him on matters that need to be investigated. More details in this report.
21st September 2020, the Movement for Multi-Party Democracy MMD President Nevas MUMBA accused the ruling party of rigging the by-elections which were held on the 17th September 2020 in LUKASHYA. According to Dr. MUMBA, there was no way his candidate could poll one vote when his entire family voted for him. This case scenario prompted Dr. MUMBA to believe that the PF stole the votes, of which the PF have constantly denied, saying they won because the party is popular. Following these statements, police summoned Dr. MUMBA to appear before them for what they termed as inquiring on the accusations so that an investigation can commence in the allegations he brought out. Dr. MUMBA was at the police headquarters at 10 hours, only to come out 2 hours later with little to say to the media.
Unable to delve into any of the inquiry. It was cordial, it was friendly. I think the police treated it with absolute professionalism. I think at the moment, any queries, any questions related to the inquiry that they are making is best handled by the police spokesperson.
Meanwhile, NDC leader Shimba Kambwili came to offer solidarity to his political friend and castigated the police for summoning innocent citizens who speak their minds.
Brother President Nevas MUMBA, because what is happening is undemocratic. In a democratic state like ours, people must be given the freedom of expression and also to air out their views and their feelings. You remember very well that when Mr. Sata lost the 2008 elections, we accompanied him. You were there, Mr. Mumbe?
Yes, I was.
We went to Mulungushi International Conference Center, where there was all kind of media houses, including international media. And he said the elections were rigged. He was actually looking for Rupia Banda and the Electoral Commission of Zambia, and they were all in hiding. And he said these elections were rigged. You saw the numbers from Mongo. How can Mongo provide? Did anybody summon him to the police? No. Did anybody summon him to the police? No. Every time there are elections, people have issued statements that the elections were rigged. Nobody has ever been summoned for questioning, because that's his opinion. That's his right of expression. Why should it be that under this administration, people must be summoned for saying anything? Do they want us to keep quiet? Number, we want to tell them, Fwebambitu alishimpula, inena alishimpula, na alishimpula ngo musunga mfwafyo kwa kushomutwe.
But like any other political event, it was not short of drama as MMD party cadres chanted slogans outside the police, differing with Deputy Police IG Boni Kapeso.
headquarters, this is the wrong place for you. The police court, Dr. Nevas MUMBA alone in his capacity. We do not want this nonsense at all. And we warned you that we do not want you to take advantage of the police. There's no way you come and start singing at the police station and with immediate effect, as I speak now, can you disperse? And I'm going back. In the next 2 minutes, if I find anybody here, don't blame me.
Sharon Kalimbula, Camnet News, Lusaka.
And in other news, opposition National Democratic Congress NDC party president Chishimba Kambuli has described the 2021 national budget as a joke, that it is not responsive to the current needs of the Zambian people. Addressing the media on Monday, Dr. Kambuli says the budget is misleading the people of Zambia and putting the country into more problems. Last Friday, Finance Minister Walyangandu unveiled the 119.6 billion 2021 national budget with various changes made in relation to allocations compared to the 2020 national budget. Meanwhile, Dr. Kambuli has charged that the President Edgar Lungu needs to change his advisor on national matters.
On the 25th of September 2020, government through Finance Minister Walyangandu announced during the presentation of the 2021 national budget that the country will spend 38.7% of the budget in paying the country's debt. The budget is aimed, among other things, at stimulating economic recovery in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. However, the National Democratic Congress, among other political parties, have described the budget as unreasonable.
We are going to pay, the Minister of Finance has provided that we should pay 53.6 billion towards debt servicing. He has provided in this same budget he has provided that we are going to pay 48 billion towards debt. Basta provide 48 billion. Now, to actualize the budget, to finance the budget, we need to borrow 53.6 billion, which means we are borrowing to pay debt. So when you are borrowing to pay debt, it simply means you've been in debt for the rest of your life. You never come out of the debt. A budget mwinge maba Economical Association of Zambia. This is a stimulus budget. Stimulus mwefilwani mwe. Mlebe pabena Zambia. And you should be ashamed of yourselves.
The opposition leader wondered why government would borrow money to pay for debt.
So mweba mnyinane, mweba limu government. When we say these things, it doesn't mean we hate you. Filamulanda tibali ba bitter. It's not bitterness. It's simply to advise you to do the correct thing. If you are saying Kambuli is bitter, ngedo nali mu government nale landa ukukana ukukongola. Tamwale nje wati ndi bitter. I stood up in that cabinet. Anybody can challenge me. Bakanye ngandewe po ufebo nadi na mu cabinet. Nale landa ti don't say that was a cabinet meeting ni borrowing. Don't say ni borrowing. Ushenomba cabinet meeting yalu ikefe ya kukongola. Is this why we should be meeting? Ngandewe po ufi Vincent Mwari Olande, ngandewe po ufi Doro Olande. Nangwimo wina ba lungu na ba maeba inonge wina. Ngandewe po ufi ukwati nshale mweba no kukano kukongola. Tell me and say Kambuli alebe po ufi.
Meanwhile, Dr. Kambuli has expressed sadness in the manner the Electoral Commission of Zambia has chosen to remain arrogant and disregarded stakeholders' view over the online voters registration.
It's a hope that Vaesa Uchulu wa Mshindano, you were listening and that you take my advice into account. But arrogantly, you have gone ahead with online voter registration and you are still insisting that you only do the voter registration for 30 days. Look, lesa tupepa efiava. God only brings certain issues to show that things are not all right.
Miriam Kemba, reporting for Camnet TV News in Lusaka.
Meanwhile, Dr. Kambuli has made a strong appeal to President Edgar Lungu to order the release of United Party for National Development UPND Deputy Secretary General Patrick Mutheleka. Dr. Kambuli says he wouldn't want anyone to encounter what he has gone through by visiting the court premises every day. On the 13th of September 2020, police in Kasama district of Northern Province arrested UPND Deputy Secretary General Patrick Mutheleka and 2 others and later charged them with aggravated robbery. The trio appeared before court, but the matter is coming up for trial on the 30th of September 2020. According to the facts before the court, the trio are said to have been accused of damaging 3 typewriters and a printer valued at over 13,000 kwacha, property of the government of the Republic of Zambia. The trio are still apprehended as one of the cases is non-bailable.
Please, free Mutheleka and those people. If you want to charge them for the appropriate offense, not aggravated robbery. They never committed aggravated robbery. For God's sake, free Mutheleka. Efe mwachitena kuli mwaliteta alichula 1 year paka basa muchita kwiti na mpapata. Frafine mwamufile kuli jeje mwayampero mulandu unono na babeni abanendu bomfile nyuluse nabakwata abana nabakwata banyina bawishi baloleke shapo uluse ebuntu. Otherwise ngatamukwete oluse na imwe nechikesa michitikila. Even if I came into power, when I come into power, I will not treat people the way you are treating people. Because if you're not pitamo, tetinte muntu kupitamo, ukulaya kukoti yonse, kwa teko mbomba. I can't work. I can't look around for money to feed my family because don't someone to ala kukoti.
Patriotic Front youths in Lusaka have hit to the call made by senior party officials to stop using the American flag in place of the party colors. One of the PF cadres, Innocent Kalimanchi, who is at the center of using the American flag, says as party youths they will respect what their party leaders are saying. And speaking at the same platform, group spokesperson Akim Banda is calling on the PF National Youth Chairman Kelvin Sampa to unite the party and spearhead peace interventions amongst members within the party. Mr. Banda has lamented how some party youths have been attacked in Kanyama amongst other places. The youths have since pledged to continue working on the grassroots and promoting the party president Edgar Lungu beyond 2021. Meanwhile, National Youth Chairman Kelvin Sampa had this to say.
National Youth Commander Innocent Kalimanchi. Ifwe pamo ngoku support parties APF elo kwati nafuna kuyipendi nasanga nabakalamba bane wena bafuna kuyipendi twaisa support aba bosses ba Edgar Chagwalungu nokuwesha bonza amasoja baro twayina bena kuti ama members abafyashi besu bana mayo umuntu uri wonse alikwata ama followers but abanesu akakatambala nari kashidi aka because they know akarete so bamuna twafala akakatambala numba baba against na akakatambala so if we twala twalilo support aba boss wesu wa Edgar Chagwalungu.
I'm Akim Banda. I'm the group spokesperson. We are appealing. Ours is an appeal because like the national commander said here, we are working for the president, Dr. ECL. We are supporting the president. We are PF. We are not opposition. We are appealing to the national youth chairman, MCC, Kelvin Sampa, to address these issues which are facing the youths, particularly in Kanyama constituency. Like Mr. Mwinko have said, that Innocent Kalimanchi, national commander, is got a big following, not only here in Lusaka, it's the whole nation. So now, he's got youths on the ground who are following him. Like he has already narrated over the Bandan, the American Bandan. Now what is happening is every youth in the compound who is found putting on that bandana, it's either they are beaten or they are taken to police.
Government says it will continue to increase community screening and testing in the fight against COVID-19. Minister of Health Chitalo Chilufya says government has placed high premium in investing in health security by partnering with the community at all levels in fighting the pandemic. The minister was speaking during the COVID-19 update, where he did disclose that 19 new cases have been recorded in the last 24 hours and 37 recoveries bring the cumulative cases to 14,660 and total recoveries to 13,821. Details in this report.
Zambia has recorded 19 new cases out of 1,158 tests done in the last 24 hours, and that brings the total number of cases so far to 14,660. We have not recorded any deaths in the last 24 hours, and therefore the number of deaths still stands at 332. We have discharged 7 patients from LUSAKA and the Copper Belt, and in our health facilities we have under our care 36 patients, 23 on oxygen, and these again are in LUSAKA, Copper Belt, Central, Northwestern, Eastern, Bakula and Southern. If we summarize the totals, we've so far conducted 152,555 tests. Out of these, 14,660 have come out positive. We have recorded 13,821 recoveries and 332 deaths. Disaggregating the deaths, 111 are COVID deaths, 218 are COVID-associated deaths. Let me take this opportunity to reiterate government efforts under the leadership of President Edgar Chagwa to ensure that the battle on COVID-19 and return the country to normalcy remains our top priority. I continue to emphasize that to win this battle, we must all adhere to the 5 golden rules. So, mask up in public, watch that distance, wash your hands frequently and avoid crowded places. Seek medical attention early if symptomatic, and the rules need to be enshrined in our daily personal and organizational lifestyle.
You're still watching Camnet TV Main News. We do take our second set of commercials and return with more news stories. Do stay with us.
To create a positive difference in people's lives, one must first understand the way people live. At Savenda, we're here for our community, our partners, and our future, as a nation and as a continent.
Back in 1997, we decided we were going to create this family journey into a bigger opportunity, and created a business called Savenda, which meant Save Nations to Develop Africa.
It's always important to give back to the people. The government cannot do everything, but as business entities, we'll be able to reach a lot of people.
From our humble beginnings in the telecoms and mining sectors to our work in energy and development projects, we know how important it is to be true to our roots.
Our services have to be diversified so that we don't depend on one income stream. Back in the village, I was growing up hunting and doing everything that a village boy would like to do. When you're hunting, you don't depend on one trap, for example. You have to have many traps. So those survival skills brought into the business created opportunities that we learned from a young age that you can't survive with just one product. Savenda Group involves Savenda Management, which is a consulting, Savenda Express, which is a corporate branding company, Savenda Electric, which is a manufacturer of energy-saving bulbs, Savenda General Insurance, which is a general insurance company, Savenda Fresh Produce, Cyber Africa, which is a center for just dealing with cyber security.
Now, Savenda is combining local knowledge with international expertise. It's time to be a part of Zambia's rising success and Africa's exciting future.
We are a gateway into Africa, and now we are praying with global companies who are coming to Zambia for opportunities and to look for companies that are homegrown, and we are proud to be one of those.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us. We continue with the news. The Zambian National Educational Coalition is disappointed of the continued decline in the budgetary allocation towards the education sector since 2016. ZANEC Executive Director George Hamusunga notes that the last 4 ministers of finance have collectively reduced the share of the educational budget from 20.2% in 2015 to the recently announced 11.5% for 2021, representing a 46.3% reduction in the last 5 years. Mr. Hamusunga further adds that the coalition observes that the 13.8 billion kwacha allocation is lower than last year's budget when one considers the sharp rise in the inflation rate in the last 1 year. He says low funding has deteriorated the education standards in the educational system. He explains that in the light of COVID-19 pandemic, which resulted in long closure of schools, it was the coalition's expectation that the budget would plan to address the repercussions of the closure. The failure of the 2021 education and skills sector budget to allocate enough resources to remediate the loss of learning during the COVID-19 period demonstrates the government's lack of political will to mitigate the looming education quality crisis. Details in this report.
4 ministers of finance have collectively reduced the share of the education budget from 20.2% in 2015 to the recently announced 11.5% for 2021, representing a 46.3% reduction in the last 5 years. Further, the coalition observes that the 13.8 billion allocation is lower than last year's budget when one considers the sharp rise in the inflation rate in the last 1 year. By neglecting the education sector, the 4 ministers of finance have championed the deteriorating education standards in our education system. In light of the COVID-19 pandemic, which resulted in the long closure of schools, it was the coalition's expectation that the budget would plan to address the repercussions of the closure. The failure for the 2021 education and skills sector budget to allocate enough resources to remediate the loss of learning during the COVID-19 period demonstrates the government's lack of political will to mitigate the looming education quality crisis.
6 people have died in a fatal road accident in MWENSE district along the MWENSE-Mansa Road in Wapula province. The accident happened around 7 hours on Monday after the driver of Zongtong bus registration number AIB 3978 belonging to Vida Logistics Transport, driven by Kendrick Simusokwe, was avoiding hitting into a pothole and in the process killed Winston Kalemfu, who was riding a motorbike and coming from the opposite direction and lost control before overturning. Accident investigations by the Road Transport and Safety Agency RATSA indicate that due to the impact, Kalemfu and 5 other passengers died on the spot, while 14 others, including the driver, sustained serious injuries and 19 had minor injuries. The bus had a shattered windscreen, depressed roof, whilst the motorbike was extensively damaged. RATSA has since cautioned motorists, particularly public service vehicle PSV drivers, to observe speed limits and obey traffic regulations and laws. The agency warns that it will not hesitate to revoke any license for non-compliant drivers. On the 13th of September 2020, MWENSE District Commissioner Edward Mumbula also died in a road accident. The National Action for Quality Education in Zambia (NAQEZ) has challenged the Evangelical Fellowship of Zambia (EFZ) to a public debate in order for the religious grouping to clearly tell Zambians why the church is against comprehensive sexual education in Zambia. NAQEZ Executive Director Aaron Chansa says it is disheartening to note that EFZ has instituted campaigns against the comprehensive sexuality education. He explains that the analysis conducted with parents across the country reveals that most of the parents appreciate the contents and teachings of sexuality education in children. He says it is sad to see the accusations made by EFZ that organizations in support of this subject are funded by foreign entitles. Government, through the Ministry of General Education, introduced comprehensive sexual education in all schools across the country, to which the church under auspices of the Evangelical Fellowship of Zambia has rejected this calling on government to immediately pull off this subject. Details in this report.
In our case, we are challenging the Evangelical Fellowship of Zambia to a public debate because we think that the issue of comprehensive sexuality education is very important, but so far the religious grouping has failed terribly to tell the nation why it is against this kind of education. In our view, it is very important to teach sexuality in schools, but since EFZ began to decampaign this kind of education, it has terribly failed to explain, to pinpoint and tell us which evils are in this kind of education, and we want to appeal to our parents to read this kind of framework, and also to the Ministry of General Education to ignore the cause by EFZ until such a time that EFZ will tell us why it is against this kind of education.
And in other news, LUSAKA Magistrate Mwaka Mikalile has fined a 24-year-old hairdresser and her boyfriend 5,000 kwacha each, and in default 6 months imprisonment for concealing the death of a child. Praxida Sikamema and Davison Simonji, both of Lusaka's Delay Estate area, are facing one count of concealing the birth of children, contrary to Section 220 of the Penal Code 87 of the laws of Zambia. Particulars of the offense in the matter are that Sikamema and Simonji on the 27th of July 2020 in Lusaka, jointly and whilst acting together, did conceal the death of the child. In this matter, facts are that a month ago, Praxida Sikamema had a child who was named Rejoice Sikamema, and her real father was Lawrence Sikamema. And on the 27th of July 2020, at around 5 hours, Praxida Sikamema was sleeping with her boyfriend, Davis and Simonji, when the baby was found dead on the bed they were sleeping on, and decided to dump the body in the bush. The two pleaded guilty last week, and when they appeared today for their sentence default, 6 months simple imprisonment and pay a fine of 5,000 each. Transport and Communications Minister Mutotwe Kafwaya has warned transporters who are allegedly planning to strike on the 19th of October 2020. Mr. Kafwaya says he is disappointed at the rumor that truck drivers have started sowing seeds of discord in the transport sector by calling on their fellow drivers to conduct a work stoppage on the 19th of October 2020. The minister has since warned both drivers and transport operators who are spearheading these illegal maneuvers. He says the law is clear about how a strike can be conducted in Zambia, adding that anyone in doubt about the previous provisions of the law should not hesitate to contact the Ministry of Labour. He notes that no driver in Zambia has authority to give instructions to other drivers in respect of work stoppages or to discipline other drivers in Zambia. This is anarchy and cannot be tolerated. The minister says should there be any lawbreakers forcing drivers or transport operators not to operate on the said date or indeed any other day, the Zambia police will be on hand to deal with such illegalities. We do take a break and return with our international and sports news, so do stay with us.
Join us on the 9th of October 2020
for the National Martyrs Conference in Kitwe. Venue: Living Water Global Church in Wusakile, opposite Wusakile Police Station. Time 08 hours to 17 hours. Theme: Unlocking Zambia's potential through raising a generation of generational thinkers. Charges: 510 kwacha, lunch inclusive. Speakers will be Dr. Collins Kachaka.
If you have a 3 liters per second, then we say in science that you qualify to get involved in fish farming because you have adequate water.
Dr. Mushalika.
Don't over-listen to people who are happy to see you poor. They don't mean any good for us. There are no people who are developed by others. All people develop themselves.
Dr. Prosper Sievo, Engineer Bernard Chuala.
You are welcome so that we can create a critical mass of participants in the avocado industry. 1 hectare in 12 months will give you no less than 1 million kwacha. Hello?
Mr. Himbai.
You planted a deep-rooted plant into a shallow-rooted, so where is it getting the nutrients? Nowhere. So that plant, it will not give you the potency. You have failed at land preparation.
Mr. Salanda.
All of them lay eggs. You can use them for eggs and also for meat. They lay at least in a year a minimum of, with the lowest, a minimum of 100 chickens each.
All the dyes, all the paints, all the lubricants, they come from a plant called castor. 34% of our medicinal elements, they come from a castor root.
Not forgetting your host, Pastor Victoria and Moses Chidora.
It is unthinkable.
Take note, limited numbers are due to COVID-19 restrictions. Make your payments through Airtel Mobile Money on 0979 753010 or on MTN Mobile Money on 0962 382535 or 0962 965883.
Really been impacted on so many levels.
This was really powerful and I'm glad I didn't miss this one.
This conference has been wonderful in the sense that the knowledge that we've acquired within a day is so much overwhelming.
Should this conference come to Western Province, I urge them all to come en masse.
I didn't know that there's potential in me and wealth was lying right where I was.
The way to go right now is agriculture.
The knowledge that we have gathered out of this meeting is immeasurable.
Hurry, don't miss this life-changing conference. I have used Oracle Pure Glycerin for 2 years now. It has really worked for me. It has cleared all the black spots on my face. It has restored my skin beauty. It also smoothens the skin. Try Oracle Pure Glycerin for perfect skin. If it's not Oracle Glycerin, then it's not pure glycerin.
Stay home, stay safe. Times have changed. With the advent of the coronavirus, LUSAKA Water Supply and Sanitation Company would like to advise its esteemed customers to avoid visiting crowded places. You don't have to move to pay your water bill. You can do it in the convenience of your home. You can pay your water bills through Zanaco Zapit, Stanbic Bank, Standard Chartered Bank, and FNB. You can also use Airtel, MTN, and Zamtel Kwacha mobile money transfer services. For any inquiries to report a fault, please contact our customer service on +260 211 251 571, +260 975 618 618, and toll-free line 5957, Zamtel only. You can also simply email customerservice@lwsc.com. This public announcement is brought to you by the LUSAKA Water Supply and Sanitation Company. Water is life. Sanitation is health.
In our international news, a team of 10 Chinese doctors have arrived in Zimbabwe to join the country's fight against the coronavirus pandemic. They will be stationed at Parirenyatwa group of hospitals for the next 12 months, the state-owned Herald newspaper reports. The head of the team, Dr. Liu, was quoted as saying the doctors will also promote Chinese traditional medicines. The Chinese embassy tweeted a photo of the doctors. And in other news, across the borders, France President Emmanuel Macron has urged Lebanon to form government in 6 weeks. French President Emmanuel Macron has urged Lebanon's leaders to form a government within 6 weeks that is in line with his initiative to rescue the Lebanese from the political and economic crisis. But Macron is also causing disillusionment among some of the given political leaders. Another chance.
It was a month ago when Lilian Hawila felt there was an opportunity for a new Lebanon. It was here where she met French President Emmanuel Macron, who visited neighborhoods damaged by the devastating explosion at Beirut port.
That day it was a mixture of emotions. There were anger, frustrations, and a little bit of hope. It's combined all together. We were desperate for a hug.
You want to even try to consider just to sit with them?
Before hugging me, he was telling me that it will be better for you and for your kids. And I made it clear that here it's the youth who are making the change, and hopefully it's not for the kids, the change will be for us.
No.
Macron accused Lebanon's leaders of betrayal for failing to form a non-partisan government to deal with the deep economic crisis. For some Lebanese, it was the French leader who betrayed them.
We only seen friendly diplomacy. We have seen no sanctions, we have seen no pressure, we have just seen failed negotiations on the table.
Lebanon is in desperate need of financial assistance to rebuild what was damaged by the port blast and revive the collapsing economy. France and other international powers have refused to provide aid before reforms are made.
Those who want a new leadership were not able to bring about change through months of protest action. That is why many were pinning their hopes on the international community. But they've been disillusioned by Macron giving the political class what they see as a lifeline.
Macron gave them another 6 weeks to implement France's roadmap. Sonia Audi, whose house was destroyed in the port explosion, believes a new deadline won't change much, and the ruling class, accused of decades of corruption, won't give up power, she says.
He gave them another chance to agree, but they won't be able to do that. They don't want to rescue the country. They want to rob the country. But I have hope in Macron. He made us feel like human beings and citizens of a nation.
The international community did step in to provide much-needed assistance to the port blast victims, but in the absence of a political solution, there is concern. Lebanon's parties are tied to foreign countries, in particular the United States and Iran. Their power struggle is played out here.
Everybody is slapping us from both sides. So what I am asking from this big country or United Nations, okay, to help the Lebanese people.
France accused Lebanon's leaders of holding the country and its people hostage. Many, such as Lilian, agree. Zana Khuder, Al Jazeera, Beirut.
We now look at our sports news. And in our sports news, the Zambia Under-15 national team has arrived from Croatia, where they went to take part in the 8-team Zlatko Markovic International Tournament. The team touched down at Kenneth Kaunda International Airport in Lusaka aboard Ethiopian Airline flight ET-873 at 14:30. They were received by Football Association of Zambia General Secretary Adrian Kashala, who congratulated them for putting up a good show in Osijek. Chisi Mbewe's fledglings finished fourth at the tournament with exciting striker Joseph Sabobo Banda adding flavor to the contingent when he finished the competition as top scorer with 3 goals in 2 fixtures. The team could not continue after 2 of the players tested positive for COVID-19. The story is courtesy of FA's Facebook page. That sports news item brings us to the end of the news, but before we go, a recap of the headlines. Police squeeze Nevis MUMBA for 2 hours over his LUKASHYA rigging claims. 6 people die in MWENSE road accident. LUSAKA couple fined 5,000 each for secretly burying their 1-month-old baby. In international news, Chinese doctors arrive in Zimbabwe. And in sports news, Zambia under 15 back home. The Camnet word verse of the day is coming from the book of 1 Corinthians 2 verse 14 to 15. And it reads, "But the natural man received not the things of the Spirit of God, for they are foolishness unto him, neither can he know them, because they are spiritually discerned. But he that is spiritual judgeth all things, yet he himself is judged by no man." Thank you so much for joining me on Camnet TV Main News. My name is Banda Tandiwe. Pleasant viewing.